19th, 2025 meeting of the Capital Planning Committee to order. This meeting is being video recorded for rebroadcast by Chelmsford Telemedia this evening. First on the agenda, we will be hearing some presentations on a number of school facility projects. The first project is number 22 on your project detail sheets. And this evening we have Dr. Jay Lang, Superintendent of Schools, and Public Works Director Christine Clancy to walk us through these projects. Good evening.
Who's that, 22, John?
Yes, project 22.
Good evening. I think we're going to jointly present these projects, and I'll kick it off with the first project. The first project is a roof study project, a various school roof study project. And as I had mentioned last week, is we're really coming upon a time where a lot of our roofs are of the same age, or buildings of the same age. So systematically, a lot of our roof replacements occur at the same time, unfortunately or fortunately. But so in the next 5 years, even several years, we have significant roof projects, tens of millions of dollars of roof projects throughout our municipal buildings, but also our schools. Right now, we're doing our South Row Roof School project. We'll be receiving bids on that in a couple of weeks. We're right now designing the McCarthy Phase 1, which is the area above the gymnasiums and the cafeteria. But we have a lot ahead of us. And so the two projects we have that we really need to understand the scope in more detail and the level of estimate cost is the remaining, or three roofs, the remaining portions of the McCarthy Middle School roof, and then the Harrington School roof, and then also the Chelmsford High School roof. All three of these roofs are between 19 to 22 years of age. We do a roof assessment annually, and all three of these roofs have been flagged as 0 to 2 years remaining in life, so they're recommended for replacement. We do have some cost data that we've been carrying, so we're carrying right now about $9 million for the Chelmsford High School roof, I think it's $3.5 million for the Harrington School, and McCarthy, this portion also about I think it's like $5 or $6 million. So it's very significant cost, and we really want to understand that cost and understand, how do we phase that. We have a placeholder how we plan to do it. So this is a request to do a study to look at the three buildings and see what do we think the actual scope of work is. Because right now you can look at the roof, and that's from our visual annual inspection, but is there a second layer of roofing material below it that we have to remove? Is there one of these three roofs? We think the McCarthy School roof is the next roof to continue with, but maybe the Chelmsford High School roof needs to be addressed beforehand. So it would really help with potential phasing recommendations, or even some repair. Like maybe we can buy 5 years on one of these roofs if we do some repairs in a certain area. This would include test cuts, schematic design, or really preliminary design of all three sections, and we would then use this to help build and reinforce our capital plan as we move forward. The requested amount is $100,000. And because the loan, just to do the test cuts, get on the roof, do the test cuts, do those repairs, and go through a detailed analysis. All three of these roofs do have solar panels on them. So these solar panels are about, by the time we do this study, about 12, 13 years old. So we would also likely replace them. So that would be part of the analysis to come up with a estimated cost and replacement plan for that as well. Are there any questions on this particular study request? So the next one is the building safety and security. Do you want to go over this one?
I just didn't know which order they were in.
Yes,
So this request before you this evening is to actually fund a project at two of our schools, Byam and South Row Elementary Schools. And this is the replacement of the clock system in basically all of our schools is beyond end of life. So the clock system, the intercom system, the PA system has been due for an upgrade for quite some time. This past summer, our own IT department implemented a new, we call it ENS system. It's an emergency notification system. It's an all-in-one system that actually has an integrated clock, a notification system with both audible and visual flashers in the event of an emergency in the school, integrated PA system so that you can talk to classrooms. So we actually have kind of the hard budget numbers because we just completed this project this past year. We're looking at probably, because again, we can't do all the schools at one time, even from an operational standpoint, it's just too much work for us to do, but also being mindful of how much money we have available for capital, trying to phase this over the next 3 to 4 years. Harrington and Byam are the same blueprint, so we know the true value that we just did at Harrington will carry over to Byam, so we have a firm number on that. And as Christine had mentioned earlier, this summer we're going to be replacing the roof and the interior ceiling at South Row Elementary School. So while the ceiling is already exposed, it makes sense to do the wiring at South Row, while the ceiling is already down. So that's why we picked that school. I do feel those numbers are true numbers, the $250,000 to do those two buildings. And also wanted to just kind of foreshadow for the group that over the next couple of years, you'll likely see another 2 schools the following year and another 2 schools the following year until we get through them all. But this system, again, integrates with and replaces clock, intercom, PA. It also ties in with our central office system in the event of an emergency, and it also ties in with police dispatch and the police department. So it's a fully integrated system.
And that's across all school buildings and central admin. It's all integrated
The communication system, yes. Right now, we only have it at Harrington. We did Harrington last summer, so this would be to do 2 more schools this coming summer. Eventually, all 7 schools would have it.
Okay.
We just have to phase it because of the cost and also just the time-consuming piece to do the installation. Any questions? Next project before you is another building and safety and security upgrade. This, again, is also a pretty significant number, and you see this is a significant number in fiscal '27 and even in the outlier years. All of our schools are due for upgraded or really new building intrusion systems. This is the basic security system, primarily on the first floor of buildings. Also, at the same time, we've been having fire panels in the buildings have been having different alarms and issues on that front. So what we're proposing to do again is to scale this back and accomplish a couple of schools a year. It's not a type of a project where we can just kind of wait and do it all at the same time, but we think capacity-wise, it makes sense to go back to Harrington because last summer we had done the full building system to integrate this piece, and then Byam because we'll be doing hopefully the clock and intercom system this summer. It would make sense to have those 2 buildings be complete. About $400,000 is the budget figure. We feel confident that the $400,000 will get us through these first 2 schools. We are curious when we go out to bid for some of this cost. Originally, this also figure, or the higher figure, the $1.1 million, included the door contacts on all the exterior doors tying into our swipes, I'm forgetting the name of it, but our keypad system that also integrates to our security system. So as we've upgraded the door projects over the last couple of years, we've actually already added contacts in many locations. So the wiring is a significant cost for that. So that cost is not going to be obviously necessary. So we'd like the $400,000 to be able to implement this in the first 2 schools. And then we'll actually be able to use that as a better gauge to figure out as we project for 28, 29, or 30, what a true cost for the project would be. Again, just trying to be sensitive to, again, budget and timeliness to do this project, but this would accomplish that at Byam and Harrington for this coming summer.
Dr. Lang, so it says fire panel system. So is it just the fire panels, or is it all the components under the fire system? So smokes, heats, those, and all the wiring combined, or is it just
our main issues
adjustable
are with the
panels?
panels. The panels themselves and some of the tie-ins. I mean, there are certainly some sensors in the buildings that are just continually like defective, and they end up tripping the fire panel. So as part of the analysis, they would go through and identify those and likely change out those sensors, just so we're not constantly in a fault type mode.
There's an addressable system, and we'll just replace miscellaneous components that aren't reporting correctly today, or that send false signals today. And
Yes, that's included
the
under
panel
the scope.
itself.
The panel itself, and then any of the miscellaneous continuous faults on the fire panels, and then the regular kind of burglar system. We do need to add some additional contact points on that, because we do have some dead areas that aren't getting picked up.
No problem, thank you.
You mentioned the logic around integrating the timing of this project. Is there any potential savings to be had if these projects are awarded together, this one and the previous one, or is that already taken into account in the cost estimates?
No, it's already taken into account in the cost estimates for these two programs. I don't know what the fuller cost of like the $1.1 million. I think by doing these first two schools, we're going to have a much better sense in the outlier years of what costs may be more accurate. But we've already assumed scale in these first two. The first three projects, as John kind of forwarded with the updated stuff, all fall under our kind of safety and security. We really hoping to do all these at the same time and
As a
bundle them.
package, yeah.
Correct. And we're already going to have work happening in the buildings. It just makes sense to try to do that.
Okay, so our next project is number 25, the Byam School parking lot.
So this is a request to completely rehabilitate the Byam School, elementary school parking lot, and also improve ADA accessibility throughout the parking lot. The whole area is pretty sizable. We did have engineering go out and evaluate this and come up with a detailed cost estimate, and that's how we've arrived at the $700,000. As you can see in this photo, really the pavement is completely unraveling. Going back to probably a few years ago, we received a lot of requests, both as we head into the winter and then as we head into the spring, for our DPW to go out and to patch these areas, and it's really difficult to do so because the pavement is really unraveling. It's costly because it's not just a mill and overlay where you take a couple inches of asphalt off. You have to completely redo the sub base as well. So it's the pulverizing where we go in, we pulverize the asphalt, and so it basically creates a new sub base, and then you grade it, and then you put in a whole new asphalt base and top coat material. Also, throughout here, there's a lot of sloped granite curbing that's severely cracked, and we looked at, could we remove it and reset it, but it just makes sense to remove it and replace it with new curbing. So that is also in the cost. Also, it would include ADA accessibility improvements, the location of some crosswalks. They just are. There's improvements that can be made to provide improved accessibility from the parking lot and into the entrances at the school. This area is including the whole entrance, which is a pretty decent length of entrance, and then as the area wraps around the Byam School. So it will go behind the Byam School, also include the basketball court area. There is a parking area right in the middle of all this that is in relatively fair shape. It was done about 10, 15 years ago. So that will remain in place. We do not have to do that as part of this work. And we'll look at ADA handicap parking spaces as well as part of that as well. This would be designed in-house, so there's a savings which is included in this cost estimate. So we would do it in-house. We wouldn't have to hire a designer to do so, and we would do this project next summer.
Curbing replaced with granite?
Yes, yeah, so slope granite with granite, yes.
Does this include the sidewalks around the school at all?
This does not include any sidewalks. I mean, if there's if there's pedestrian ramps that need improvement, that would be, yes, so that will be replaced. But as far as any sidewalks, that will not be included. And we don't really have, it's just really, I guess it's just, there's a couple concrete ramps I think that we'll have to maybe do. Yeah, right in the front. No, there is a separate project, sidewalk, the Parkerville Road project, that will add sidewalks along Parkerville, but no sidewalks along this area.
Okay.
This next project for the schools is at Harrington Elementary School, and this would be to replace the kitchen floor, both the kitchen, the preparation area, as well as the service area where the students come in to get their food, with a code-compliant, non-slip flooring surface. This is something that we have done at, again, several of the schools. We've been trying to do a school every year or so. This just continually comes up with the different health inspections at the school that the health, not health department, but the health inspector just cites the need for a code-compliant, non-slip floor in the kitchens. That's a pretty true number based on, again, we know Harrington and Byham are the same layout, so that was the number that Byham came in at. So we're confident that that number will cover the project.
So when you do these, do you tear up all, it looks like quarry tile flooring down there, do you tear all that out, level the floor, and then go back with the non-slip, or do you just go, do you level
Yeah,
over
that-
the quarry and then just put the new flooring down?
No, and that's actually just a stock photo. That's not what that floor actually looks like. It's just to represent us redoing the floor. But no, the quarry tile would come up, and it would be more of like one of those acrylic kind of poured floors that has the base, kind of wraps up on the baseboard.
Yeah, like an epoxy floor.
Like an
With
epoxy
the-
floor
with
is
the
what would
integral
go
coat.
into place. Yeah.
Perfect.
And our next project is the
Antenna.
bidirectional
Yep.
antenna.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I just didn't have these in
Oh,
the
it's
right
okay.
order. So this request is kind of the third on our list under safety and security. This actually had come up a couple of different times. And this would be to add a bidirectional antenna system to McCarthy Middle School to help with radio connectivity within the building. Obviously, the school staff are on radios during the day. We have SROs, and we're in contact with the police department, different emergency responders during the day. McCarthy's a tough school for us because of just the age, the vintage of the building materials. There are dead spots within the building where you can't always pick up a radio connection. So this is something we actually done at the high school a couple of years ago because we're having issues with radio connectivity within the building. But this will actually help the school department and police department radios communicate better with each other. Fortunately, I think this is the last one we're going to have to do as well. The other buildings, although again, it's a similar type issue with the materials used, they're just a smaller footprint, and we haven't had the level at the elementary schools, the level of dead zones or dead spots that we've had at the larger schools, like McCarthy and the high school.
Where does the antenna, is it goes on a roof, or where does it get installed?
That's a question for the professionals.
Okay.
So I know that somehow there is an antenna on the roof, but somehow it actually also integrates into the building, and it ties into our network system so that it's a repeater system.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, because we're doing the roofs, I didn't know, you know.
Oh, no, it's not going to interfere with
Okay,
the roof
that's
project.
that was my
No.
question. Yeah, okay.
Okay. And then our next
Locker
project,
room
28,
study.
the locker
Yep.
room study.
Thank you. This is a smaller ask, $30,000 for the school department. We've had in fiscal '27 about a $600,000 renovation to the high school locker rooms in our fiscal planning. The locker rooms have been used as we kind of get ready for capital planning. They've been used in different ways. They've kind of made them work over the years. There definitely needs to be some improvements to both the boys and the girls locker rooms and team rooms at the high school. Again, just trying to be conscious of budget and timeliness as well. I think we'd like to take a step back and hopefully fund this with a smaller, $30,000 allocation as opposed to 600, to have a designer come on board and actually work with us to do some rendering, some review of the existing space, materials, actually, again, kind of do a preliminary design of the space, do a true cost estimate of what the kind of hopeful space will be at this point, to then be able to get this back into cycle for 28, 29, 30 going forward. But we weren't prepared this year to ask for the 600 without really a concrete plan, because things have changed a couple times, and we think it would just be better suited to fund a smaller study to actually then be able to do the preliminary design, put together some of the kind of the bid package that would go out, and also be able to do some better cost estimating based on the materials that would ultimately be selected for the 2 spaces.
Jeff, can we borrow for, just for a design project?
I will look into it. I believe we can, but I will look into it. And the final project is the Chelmsford High School roof.
One more after that.
There's one more after
Yeah,
that, too.
switch gear to
Yeah.
that.
I'm sorry.
A couple more.
Excuse me.
So this is, so even though previously earlier I had asked for a request to do a study of the Chelmsford High School, we do know that there's one section of the high school roof that we could break out as a separate project. And that is the area above the cafeteria and the kitchen, pictured here to lower roof. And this area does receive the most leaks, has the largest leak history. There's a lot going on there with different pipe penetrations and the different equipment on the roof, so it is a kind of a complicated area, but we've had a history of leaks, unfortunately, in this area. So this is a request to do the design and the construction of this area, just over 16,000 square feet. This roof is 19 years old. Like I said, it has active leaks. This project, we were doing the test cuts, the budgeting, the design, take it through CD, and also the construction as well. Given the timing of it, you probably would do the design next year, and you would actually do the construction in the year 2027. That summer would likely be the timeline. Also here, there's solar panels. We would look at that as well, just to see if we would be likely removing and replacing them. This image that's shown is taken directly from our roof assessment management report, and so each number denotes some type of failure, not always a leak, sometimes there's exposed fasteners, there's flashing missing, so there's different defects identified. And like I said, we saw this as a need. Like, we have so many needs coming in the next future years, so we said, why don't we just try to break out a piece of the Chelmsford High School roof, and this just made sense because it is a lower roof section.
Okay, there's no questions on the roof?
well,
Pat?
So this is school committee priority number 4 that we're talking about, is that right?
Combined with the first one.
Combined with,
Yeah,
that's my
yeah,
question. So
correct.
this, so the first one we talked about for the 100,000
Correct.
gets added to the million for the 1.1 million that we're looking at for the cost price.
I
on
guess
that.
I had broken out as 2 separate request. I don't know, is that what you're asking? Yeah. Yeah, so it's 1.1 million. I see, I mean, I gave my priors. I mean, this is important, but that roof study is so essential because we're trying to understand what the actual cost is. So it's it's 2 separate requests, as I would, I guess, clarify.
Thank you.
And the Chelmsford High School study was going to focus on the entire area, and so we probably would actually omit this piece because we could potentially study if it was just a study, but if we were theoretically to move forward with both projects, the study would focus on the entire roof area outside of this area, and this project would actually be advancing design and construction. I guess if this wasn't funded, we probably would still look at incorporating it into some type of study if we could. It's actively leaking, and so we've been there. If you look at our history, it's the area we're called to the most at the high school for at least a few years.
You're not gonna get into MSBA with a 19-year-old or 20-year-old roof. The last cutoff they had was 30-year-old roof. They were doing the last, accelerated repair program. So that's the problem, is you just can't make that.
Yeah, so as far as a good point, because the MSBA, so yeah, you can apply when the roofs are 25 years old, and then by the time you actually construct, they're probably 28 years old. McCarthy would actually be the best candidate because that is the closest to 25 years. All the other roofs are 19, 20, 21 years. McCarthy's 22 years old, so that's why it's important to do that study, because if that study can say, yes, you can get an extra 3 to 5 years out of the roof, it might make sense to try to hold that for the next MSBA project. If it says, no, this is in horrible condition, then we know we can't apply that as the next MSBA application.
Yeah, that's good information for us to have. Thank you.
You're talking about 50% reimbursement.
Right.
Yeah, it varies. It's like a sliding scale. So I've seen 26, 20. I usually don't see 25. I see 28, 29, 30. Yeah. So and our new roofs are being built for 30 years.
This is one of the largest single projects. Is there any opportunity to phase this over 2 years or?
So this project, it's hard to break up a roof project. So we identified this because it's a lower roof. And also, that's the thing too, is we don't have great cost data. We're going based on what our engineers are telling us. We currently have a Southborough out to bid. And so like the Southborough School, originally we were thinking, okay, it's a $1.5 million project. That's a $4.5 million project. But I'm also hearing that roof projects are coming in $1 million under. So I really need some more cost data to say, is this a $1 million project? Is it $800,000? So we hopefully, with the McCarthy Phase 1, we'll get numbers on that in the next couple of months. We'll get Southborough within the next month. But right now I have to plan for the worst. And that includes the solar. There's a cost for the solar as well. Yeah, so the study will look at different phasing. So that's critical. But this piece right here, I think it's going to be very difficult to chop up. I mean, theoretically, yes, you could do a repair, you could do half the roof. But then anytime you're left with a seam, that's probably a potential point of failure in the future.
Any further questions on the roof at all? If not, okay. And then project 30.
The last request of the night is the switchgear rehabilitation and panel board replacement. I call it a program because we started this with the ARPA program where we completed panel board replacements at the McCarthy School. And also, it's really a two-phase. They do panel board replacements, and that's what you see right here. These are the panel boards in the Southborough School. That was just recently voted at Fall Town Meeting to do that here. And then also we'll continue that with the high school. So we've done ARPA with McCarthy. We're moving forward with Southborough, the high school. But we know we have to really get through all of our schools. Byam, eventually the center school, the community ed. So we're asking for an additional $150,000. We do think the high school, we might not have enough of the $400,000 to finish the high school. There's so many panel boards there. It is panel board replacement, and also they go through the existing switchgear and they really do a tune-up on it, and then they see if there's any parts that have to be rehabilitated. Many of these are original to the building, and so it's really difficult to replace it. But it is a great process because they go through, they test everything, and then if there's something that's a significant risk, then they recommend replacement of that piece. And it's so critical. This is the switchgear system. This is what steps down the electricity as it comes into the building and distributes the power throughout the building. If we don't have this working, we don't have school. So if it's down, it could be very difficult to replace or to repair. So it's really a major critical infrastructure component of each of our schools. Yeah, time, yes. And so, I guess for McCarthy, we did complete the McCarthy repair. We replaced 22 panel board systems, and they also went through the switchgear, and they found one part that needs to be completely rehabilitated. They can't just order a new part. These systems are really obsolete, and they'll check around the country to see if there's a spare part, but they had to rebuild one part, and there was another part that had some deficiencies, but they were able to do a tune-up on it, so that eliminated that risk.
So this is supplemental to the 400,000?
This is supplemental, so we really think we need to ask for this on an annual basis if we can, at least for the foreseeable future.
So the original scope was replace all the panel boards?
So the cost data on this is also all over the place. So originally with ARPA, with the McCarthy, the original estimate was $300,000, I think, to replace the McCarthy, and then the bids came in at 140. So we're taking that number to estimate what's necessary at South Row School, but then we have so many more panels at the high school that we think there's a larger cost. So we have, I guess we're not certain how far this $400,000 is going to stretch. The $400,000 that was appropriated at South Row, for South Row, that will definitely complete South Row, and then it might not complete all of the Chelmsford High School. We don't know. So it's continuing. So this request is to, if needed, continue with the Chelmsford High School, and then jump to Byam, Harrington. So it's really just to go through all the schools.
How do you identify, are you doing infrared studies or something like that of the panels and saying, okay, this panel's just...
That's what, yeah, so the consultant that comes in, does a study. The thing is so for all of these in South Row, there was no infrared study needed. The electrical engineer walked in and said, these are obsolete, and just replace them. So it's really, the panel boards are more of an age. The switchgear system as a whole, they come in and they do, I call it a tune-up, and they... I guess that's separate, but it's critical, and it's really two parts. It's the panel board systems and it's the switchgear.
Having not had a lot of time to think about it, but you know, we have an effort to go electric as we go forward in town and so on and so forth. So does that change our power requirements at the school such that at some point we need to look at new switchgear any which way, because we might have to go from a 1,600 amp system to a 2,000 amp system or what have you?
Yes, potentially. So that is something that we'd have to look at if we were to elect completely. So we looked at through the school electrification study, how would we electrify each building? There was some assumption assumed that you'd have to upgrade the infrastructure. And if you upgrade the switchgear system, you're taking down walls, you're talking millions of dollars. So it's significant. I don't know, I guess we don't have enough information to know exactly what that load requirement is. We just went through it for the fire station project, and they were sizing the amp service, and I don't think it's actually increased because also like the LED lighting, it's actually a lighter load. So it depends, I guess, but given, if we were to switch from what we have gas to electrical boilers, I would think we would have to have an increase in power. And so this is based on the current load. And this is a rehabilitation, not a replacement. Replacement is what I've been told is potentially millions.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So that's our final school project for this evening. So based on, on the agenda, our town accountant Darlene Lucia prepared a summary of recaptured funds from prior year projects. The total's just over $149,000. Darlene, did you want to discuss any of the projects at all, or?
No, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, for the Forum Ice Refrigeration, that project was, that was about, 6 years ago. It seems like it was recent, but it's a while ago. That was originally a $1.2 million project. There's $16,000 left over there. The building is the CCA building installation. That project actually got done under an ARPA project, so we ended up not even using that money, so that got turned back. The sander truck, that was originally a $165,000 appropriation, leaving $11,673 left. The facility hybrid vehicle fleet, that was a fiscal '23 project. That was for $55,000. There's just $325,000 left of that project. Fiscal '24 project for the Harrington school boilers, that was a $316,000 project with $29,000, $738 left over there. The high school kitchen renovation, which was done in fiscal '24, was a almost $2.2 million project there. It's $21,582 left over. Sander truck and brine for the DPW, again, a fiscal '24 project, $215,000 was the original appropriation, of $758 left over. The Westland boiler replacement, that was a $260,000 appropriation with $760 left. And the last one was the medium-duty DPW patch truck, what was a fiscal 25 project for $105,000 appropriation with $7,900 left over. So, and then we just have, we get bond premiums from the borrowings from the prior year. We get to put those bond premiums aside. So we had a $10,000 from last year from fiscal 25's capital project so we get to use that for our current project, so that added to that.
Great, thank you. So I just wanted to mention, so last
And I
week.
want to thank Christine Clancy
Yeah, thank you
for helping with finding us money, because I look to her to help me with these projects, so.
So basically, these funds can be applied, and you'll see when I distribute the project worksheets, so we can work on for the capital plan. You'll see that as another funding source at the bottom. So this will defray the amount we have to borrow. I did want to mention last week a committee member asked me what was the target, and I said roughly $6 million. Given this amount of money, just glancing over the list, I know it's going to be very difficult to reach 6. If committee members want to use 6.2 million as a target, that is fine, and we can discuss it at our next meeting. But I just wanted to revise that number. 6.2 million is a good.
Including the recapture?
Yeah, because that'll
Right.
that'll bring it down just close to 6 million that we
Yep.
would actually borrow. And then I will distribute the project funding worksheet. So for the newer members, basically what we do is it's a small Excel file and allows you to plug in different amounts in projects. You do some different scenarios and figure out what you want to recommend that you want to fund, and then it's a nice way to do it. And then what we'll do is we'll get everybody's, I'll have you email them back to me. I'll compile them into a list of everybody's response. And then if we have 4 or 5 votes for a certain project, we kind of know that that project has broad support. So we'll know that that's pretty much, unless somebody makes a compelling argument, that will be one of the funded items. Then we can kind of focus our attention on the ones where the projects that may not receive many votes. And then we can work from there at our third meeting. But, so, at this point, I did want to mention our third meeting we're planning for Thursday, December 4th, and I will send everyone an email reminder. It's actually not, it will not be in this room, it will be at the school administration building on North Road, and it's in the school committee meeting room. The reason that we're moving is that the zoning board of appeals uses this room that we're meeting in on the first Thursday of the month, so that's why it'll avoid a scheduling conflict. So thank you to the schools for hosting us for that. And the minutes from November 13th, I will have for you next week, so I will email those out to the committee in advance, and then we'll be able to vote on those. And let's see, that brings us to our public comment. Do we have anyone, I'm not seeing anyone that would like to make public comments, but if you would. Okay.
Can I just point
Sure.
out, because I know we do have some new members. So I know Director Clancy did the same thing, but what we did with our 8 projects is we ordered them and what we thought was the most important second one. So as you're making decisions, we thought the school safety projects were the most important. So if we were going to fund, that's kind of the order we would say we would like to see it. And I know Director Clancy did a similar thing with the town project. So just as you're looking at deciding what you want to put behind, that's kind of, we saw the safety, the roofs, because the roof's leaking, that type is the most important, and went down from there, so.
Yeah, and those priority rankings are important because you might get to a situation where you see 2 truck replacements around the same amount of money, but one might be ranked higher than the other, so that might help you in your decision. Do any of the other committee members have any questions or anything that you'd like to discuss?
Joe, that meeting would be
Yeah.
at 6 on the 4th?
Yes, we'll plan that for the 6 o'clock on the 4th at the school administration building.
And the rankings for all the other ones are here.
Yes, that's actually, that's
This one.
yeah, I'll make a note to resend you that, because what Director Clancy did is she took that large spreadsheet, that other one
This
that you
one.
had in your hand, And she
Yeah,
put
okay.
rankings on the right side
Oh,
of it.
okay, yeah, I would appreciate that.
Okay, that was
Yeah,
just-
that would be
yeah.
great.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, thank you, yeah,
Okay.
that would be good to know. Thank
Let
you.
me, I'll email that out again. It looks a little bit like the one that you have in your hand. That's like
This one.
that's like the summary of all the projects in the 5-year plan.
Yep.
They look a little similar, but I'll email that out to everyone.
That would be great, thank you.
Yeah, and just to point out, Pat pointed out too, you know, we bundled the two roof projects together, you know, at the 100 and the million, so they were presented as two different ones, but they were both involved with the roof, so we just kind of put them, and in terms of our priorities, you know, so there'd be like 4A and 4B if you'd rather.
You really can't have one without the other, just doesn't make any sense, right?
I would think.
Right, yeah, okay.
All right. If there are no other comments or questions, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Second by Cindy.
Everyone's
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Please, aye. All those opposed? All right, we're adjourned till